Welcome to your personalized deep dive. It's May 24th, 2025, and we're digging into the latest AI updates you've shared.
Right.
Our mission today, basically, is to cut through the noise, figure out what's really significant.
Sounds good. There's definitely a lot happening.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to look at Isomorphic Labs, AlphaFold, the drug discovery angle.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Qtai's Unmute project, which seems pretty interesting for voice interaction.
Someone's got potential, yeah.
And of course, the new models everyone's talking about, Claude 4 and Google's VO3 for video.
Lots to cover. Okay, where should we start? Isomorphic Labs.
Yeah, let's start there. Isomorphic Labs and AlphaFold, it feels like they're trying to completely rewrite the rules for drug discovery.
That's a good way to put it. Demis Hassabis and the team, their goal is, well, it's incredibly ambitious, taking drug discovery from, say, a decade down to possibly weeks.
Weeks. That sounds almost like science fiction.
Well, it really leans heavily on AI, specifically models like AlphaFold. The breakthrough, you see, is AlphaFold's ability to predict protein structures, like the 3D shape of proteins,
Okay, I remember AlphaFold making waves for that. Why is the shape so crucial?
because the shape determines the protein's function and how a drug might interact with it. For, well, decades, figuring out these structures was slow, painstaking lab work. Years, sometimes.
Right.
Now, AI gives you that structure almost instantly. It's revolutionary.
So it's not just faster, it's changing the whole approach, like how scientists even start thinking about a drug.
Precisely, yeah. Knowing that exact shape lets researchers test ideas, potential drug targets, drug designs, directly on a computer. We call it in silico.
Ah, in silico. So simulating it instead of doing endless physical experiments at the start.
Exactly. You can filter out bad ideas much, much faster. It lets you skip potentially years of that early, often frustrating lab-based trial and error.
And that translates to faster human trials, I assume. They're aiming for end of 2024 for their first AI-driven candidate.
That's the goal, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Targeting big areas like oncology, cardiovascular, maybe neurodegeneration.
Wow.
And if they hit that, moving from an idea to your human trials in maybe a year or two, that's a massive acceleration. Like you said, maybe 10 times faster than the traditional 5–10 years.
So the AI acts like a super efficient filter, basically, finding the needles in the haystack much quicker.
That's a great analogy. It dramatically increases the chances that the candidates that do go forward will actually succeed in clinical trials, which are still the really long, expensive part.
Right, that's an important point from the sources. AI speeds up the discovery, the early part, but the clinical trials, proving safety and efficacy in humans, that still takes time.
Absolutely. That rigorous testing is essential, and AI doesn't bypass that. But getting better candidates to trial faster is still a huge win.
Okay, fascinating stuff on the medical front. Let's switch gears a bit. Qtai's Unmute project. This sounds like it's about how we actually talk to AI.
Yeah, it is. Qtai is building this as an open source project. The aim is to plug real-time speech-to-text, STT, and text-to-speech, TTS, into basically any LLM.
So making voice interaction smooth and natural, like low latency real-time conversation.
Exactly. The goal is that natural two-way voice conversation. Less typing, more talking.
Getting closer to that sort of, conversational AI we see in movies.
Kinda, yeah. They showed a demo using Gemma 3.12b as the LLM brain.
Okay.
And then they have these modular streaming components, the TTS, the voice output, uses about a 2 billion parameter model.
It's just relatively small these days.
It is, relatively. And the STT, the listening part, is around 1 billion parameters. They're even planning a tiny 300 million parameter version.
And these are designed to be efficient. Running in bfloat 16, you mentioned, helps with memory.
That's right. BF16 helps keep memory usage down. So the TTS needs about 4 gigs of RAM, STT about 2 gigs. Pretty manageable.
Okay.
And importantly, it supports batch inference. This means it can handle lots of users at once.
Ah, scalability. That's key for actual use.
Definitely. They estimate, for example, one H100 GPU could maybe handle like 384 simultaneous STT users.
Wow. Okay, that's serious throughput. And the features. Low latency bidirectional streaming. What's semantic voice activity detection?
Right, so low latency is crucial for that real-time feel. Bidirectional streaming means the AI can kind of start responding even while you're still talking more naturally.
Like a real conversation.
Yeah. And semantic VAD, that's clever. It's not just detecting silence, it's trying to understand if you've actually finished your thought or if it's just a natural pause. makes the turn-taking much smoother.
Less awkward interruption.
Exactly. And they also mentioned rapid voice cloning capabilities, which is another interesting piece.
Now, the sources did say the demo quality might not be quite top tier yet compared to some proprietary system.
True, it's still developing,
Mhm.
but the big draw here is that it's open source.
Right. That always gets the community excited. People can build on it, tweak it.
Absolutely. That open nature plus the modular architecture, it's generating a lot of interest.
Yeah.
People are even talking about making it compatible with, like, the OpenAI API.
Oh, interesting. So you could run the voice parts locally, maybe, but connect to a powerful cloud LLM.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a really compelling setup for developers. Best of both worlds, maybe.
Okay, very cool potential there. Let's pivot again. Anthropic's Claude 4, Opus, and Sonnet. Lots of chatter about these, especially for coding.
Yeah, definitely making waves. The coding benchmarks are pretty impressive. Both Sonnet 4 and Opus 4 scored really well on SWE Bench.
Just WE Bench. That tests real-world coding problems, right? Not just snippets.
Exactly. Complex software engineering tasks. Sonnet hit 72.7%. Opus just behind at 72.5%.
Yeah.
And Sonnet in particular seems really good at understanding large code bases.
State of the art, some are saying, especially with tools like Cursor.
Yeah, when paired with the right tools, it seems to give a really deep understanding of existing code, which is huge for developers.
I can imagine just being able to ask an AI to explain a complex part of a legacy system.
Exactly. And it's not just benchmarks. We're hearing from users like startups saying their products just work better now, powered by Claude 4.
Tangible impact.
Right. And they've integrated Claude Code into IDEs now, making it easier to use day to day.
And Opus 4, what's the word on that one?
Opus is getting reviews saying it kind of combines the best bits of older Claude models. Really strong on long-running tasks, using tools intelligently, and also just writing quality.
Sounds powerful. But there's always a but. Cost is one, right?
Mhm.
Especially Opus.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor to watch. Using these models via the API, particularly Opus, can get expensive. Some users reported pretty significant costs for single tasks.
So powerful but potentially pricey, that's a trade-off.
It is. Balancing that cutting-edge performance with affordability is still a challenge across the board in AI.
And there was that other slightly weird finding. Claude 4, Sonnet specifically, being great at code but struggling with basic math.
Yeah, that was interesting. It highlights that these models don't necessarily develop skills uniformly. You can be brilliant at complex code understanding, apparently, but still fumble some basic arithmetic.
Shows we still don't fully grasp how they think, I guess.
Pretty much. It suggests different capabilities might still be somewhat compartmentalized within the model.
But despite that quirk, they're still seen as very capable agents, like for planning and executing tasks.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're ranking very highly on the GAIA benchmark, which measures that agentic performance, setting a goal and figuring out the steps to achieve it. Very strong there.
Okay, good to know. Right, final topic. AI video, Google's VO3.
Yes, the latest text-to-video offering from Google.
And the big claim seems to be it can generate gameplay videos now. That sounds like a big step up.
It does. If it can convincingly create complex dynamic scenes like gameplay, that suggests a significant advance in quality and coherence, potentially pushing past competitors.
Yeah, the implications for content creation, gaming, maybe even training simulations, huge, but details are a bit thin on the ground.
That's the catch right now. We don't have a lot of detailed benchmarks or deep dives into the tech yet. It's still relatively new. Access is limited.
And early users are noticing some quirks, like AI stares.
Yeah, some common patterns seem to be emerging in the output. Characters sometimes freezing with that wide-eyed look, or certain visual elements repeating, shows there's still room for refinement.
And a key limitation mentioned was no image to video.
Right. It seems to be purely text to video currently. That means you can't give it a starting image to guide the style or ensure character consistency easily. You're relying purely on the prompt.
Which makes fine-grained control harder.
It definitely can, yeah. Especially for longer sequences or maintaining specific visual elements.
Still, the output is described as highly realistic, coherent narratives, good lip sync.
Apparently so. The realism and the ability to create coherent sequences are noted strengths. And the lip sync and voice generation matching the characters convincingly is a big plus for realism.
Getting audio and video synced well is tough.
It really is. So that's a significant achievement if it holds up. But again, cost is coming up in discussion. Some users are wondering if the subscription price is justified yet.
Okay. And there was a mention of VO3 Flow. Any idea what that is?
Unfortunately, no. The sources you shared just mentioned the name, but no details on what Flow might refer to. Could be a feature, a workflow, a different tier. Hard to say right now.
Okay, something to keep an eye on. So, wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, the learner? We've covered a lot.
We have. It's a snapshot of rapid progress on multiple fronts.
Yeah, you've got Isomorphic Labs potentially slashing drug discovery times with AlphaFold's power. That's huge.
Then Qtie's unmute, pointing towards much more natural voice interaction with AI, a different kind of revolution.
Right. And Claude 4 pushing the limits in coding and agent tasks, even with those caveats about cost and, well, arithmetic.
And VO3 showing another leap in AI video, getting more realistic and coherent, though still with limitations and questions around access and control.
It's just constantly evolving, isn't it? So the question for you is, what stands out most from all this?
Yeah, what sparks your interest or raises questions for your own exploration? How might these advances, faster drug discovery, better voice interfaces, smarter coding partners, more realistic AI video impact what you do or the fields you're interested in?
Definitely things to consider as you continue your own deep dive into AI.